The promotion meeting started late. I sat at the conference table, my heart pounding against my ribs. For 3 months, my boss Marcus had been telling me this role was mine. Just a formality, he'd said last week, squeezing my shoulder like a proud father. The regional manager position, the one I'd been preparing for, the one that matched every goal in my performance reviews. Marcus cleared his throat and smiled at the room. "I'm pleased to announce our new regional manager," he said, his voice warm with pride. My hands gripped the armrest. "Please join me in congratulating Tyler Bennett." The room erupted in applause. My stomach dropped like I'd missed a step in the dark. Tyler, Marcus's college roommate who joined the company 8 months ago. Tyler, who asked me basic questions about our systems weekly. Tyler, who'd never managed a team before. I tried to smile, but my face felt frozen. Around me, coworkers clapped enthusiastically. Someone whistled. Tyler stood up, grinning, shaking hands. Marcus's eyes swept the room, landing on everyone except me. That's when I knew. This wasn't a mistake. This was a plan. After the meeting, I stayed in my chair while everyone filed out. My legs felt weak. In the hallway, voices carried back congratulations, laughter, someone suggesting drinks after work. Patricia from accounting approached my desk an hour later. "Congratulations on your," she started, then froze. Her face went pale as she realized her mistake. "Oh God, I'm so sorry. I thought everyone said you were getting it." "It's fine," I whispered, though nothing was fine. That afternoon, Marcus pulled me into his office. His expression was carefully neutral, practiced. "I need you to be a team player here," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Tyler's going to need support during the transition. You understand the systems better than anyone. You told me the role was mine." I said quietly. He waved his hand dismissively. "I said you were a strong candidate. Things change. The board wanted fresh perspective. But I'd seen the board meeting notes. They'd never discussed candidates. This decision was Marcus's alone." I nodded slowly, my mind crystallizing around one truth. I was never meant to win. That evening, I opened my email and scrolled back through months of messages. There it was, dated 3 months ago. Marcus's words glowed on my screen. "The regional manager role is yours, Cassandra. Start thinking about your transition plan." My hands trembled as I read it again. Then again. "Not, you're a candidate. Not strong consideration. Yours." Written, dated, saved in my inbox like a contract he couldn't take back. The next morning, I walked into Marcus's office and closed the door. I kept my voice steady, professional. "You promised me this promotion in writing. I have the email." His face hardened. "You misunderstood the context," he said smoothly. "That was aspirational, motivational. I was encouraging your development. It says the role is yours." "Cassandra, you're being emotional about this," he replied, leaning back in his chair. "This kind of reaction is exactly why the board had concerns about your readiness for leadership." I felt something crack inside me. Not from anger, but from clarity. He was rewriting reality right in front of me, and he expected me to accept it. I left his office without another word. My hands stopped shaking. I stopped defending myself. I stopped explaining. I started watching instead. The leadership meetings I used to help coordinate suddenly happened without me. My calendar invitations disappeared, but I still had access to the shared drives, the financial systems, the project files. They'd pushed me to the margins but forgotten to lock the doors. I watched Tyler struggle through his first week. He scheduled meetings he didn't understand, made promises he couldn't keep, and relied on me to explain basic procedures he should have learned months ago. "Can you walk me through the quarterly reporting process?" he asked one morning, standing awkwardly by my desk. "Of course," I said, smiling. I explained it clearly, simply. I documented our conversation in an email afterward, just to be helpful. During my lunch break, I reviewed files I normally never checked: expense reports, approval workflows, budget allocations. Just curiosity, just routine. That's when I noticed something odd. Financial approvals were being rushed through under Marcus's credentials, bypassing the standard review process. The expense report was small, barely noticeable in the flood of daily transactions. Tyler had submitted charges for a conference in Miami, hotel, flights, meals, standard stuff, except the conference didn't exist. I checked the industry calendar, searched the organization's website, called the venue. Nothing. The dates Tyler claimed to attend matched a weekend when our systems showed him logged in from the office. The approval signature belonged to Marcus, but the approval authority should have required 2 signatures for amounts over $5,000. This report had only one. I sat at my desk staring at the screen. This could be a mistake, a system glitch, an administrative error, or it could be something else. I opened a personal folder on my laptop, one stored locally, not on the company server. I took screenshots of the report, the approval, the conference details that didn't exist. I saved them carefully, dated them, and labeled them clearly, just in case. Over the next 2 weeks, I found 5 more discrepancies. Then 10, none of them large enough to trigger automatic audits, all of them tied to Tyler's accounts or Marcus's approvals. A vendor payment for services never rendered. Travel reimbursements for trips that didn't match calendar records. Equipment purchases delivered to addresses that weren't company locations. Each one carefully hidden in legitimate-looking paperwork. Each one just small enough to slip through oversight. But together they formed a pattern. I realized something that made my chest tighten. This promotion wasn't about merit. It was about control. Tyler wasn't chosen because he was qualified. He was chosen because he was compliant. They needed someone in that regional role who wouldn't ask questions, someone who owed Marcus everything, someone who could approve things quietly without understanding what he was approving. Then, on a Friday afternoon, compliance sent a vague company-wide email. Reminder: all financial approvals require documented justification per company policy. Please review procedures. Someone else was noticing too. My workload shrank. Projects I'd led for years were quietly reassigned. My input in meetings, when I was invited at all, was politely ignored. They thought they were punishing me, but they were giving me time. I used it carefully. I traced vendor contracts back to their origins. I cross-referenced approval dates with calendar entries. I compiled spreadsheets that told stories Marcus didn't know I could read. Then, one Tuesday morning, my phone buzzed with a LinkedIn message. A recruiter named Angela from a competitor firm. "I've been following your work," she wrote. "I'd love to discuss a leadership opportunity." We scheduled a call. During our conversation, she reviewed my experience and accomplishments. Her silence stretched long after I finished. "I'm shocked you weren't promoted," she said finally. "Your company has a reputation for this kind of thing." "What kind of thing?" I asked carefully. "Promoting loyalty over competence. It's been mentioned in exit interviews." She paused. "Would you consider a discreet interview? We're looking for someone with exactly your background." I said yes before I fully realized I'd made a decision. Tyler's confidence grew as his competence didn't. He made decisions without understanding their implications, overrode systems he didn't comprehend, and ignored warnings from people who'd been doing this work for years. In meetings, he spoke loudly about changes he wanted to implement, changes that would have destabilized critical workflows. Marcus smiled approvingly, praising Tyler's fresh thinking and bold vision. I watched veteran employees exchange worried glances. I watched projects I'd carefully structured get torn apart. I watched preventable problems multiply. Then one landed directly in my inbox. Tyler had approved a vendor contract that violated our exclusivity agreement with another supplier. Legal would catch it eventually, but by then, we'd be facing penalty fees and potential litigation. The mistake was buried in technical language Tyler clearly hadn't understood. I could let it explode. I could watch him face consequences. But that would hurt people who had nothing to do with this betrayal. Our team, our clients, our contractors who depended on our stability. So I fixed it quietly. I contacted the vendor, explained the conflict, and negotiated a modification. I documented every step. The board's quarterly review was scheduled for 6 weeks out. The announcement appeared in my calendar with surprising formality. All department heads required to attend, financial reports due 2 weeks prior. I'd attended these reviews before, always in the background, always providing support data. This time felt different. The air in the office shifted. Conversations stopped when certain people walked by. Marcus seemed distracted, irritable. He snapped at assistants, double-checked files obsessively, and held whispered conversations with Tyler behind closed doors. Meanwhile, Angela called with news. "We'd like to make you an offer," she said, her voice warm. Regional Director of Operations, full team, competitive salary package, signing bonus. She named a figure that made my breath catch. It was 40% more than Marcus currently made. The title was 2 levels above the promotion I'd been promised. The position starts in 8 weeks, she continued, but we're flexible if you need more time for transition. I thanked her professionally, asked for the offer in writing, and promised my answer within a week. I didn't resign. Not yet. The timing felt important, though I couldn't explain why. Marcus assumed I'd fallen in line. He stopped watching me carefully, stopped monitoring my access. I became invisible again, useful but unthreatening, competent but contained. I trained Tyler on processes he should have learned months ago. I answered his questions patiently. I fixed his mistakes quietly, and I documented everything. Every correction, every explanation, every problem I solved that should have been his responsibility. The file grew thick with evidence of the gap between his title and his capability. 2 weeks before the board review, compliance sent another email, this one directed specifically to department heads. Please compile comprehensive financial reports including all approvals, expenditures, and vendor contracts for Q1 through Q3. The request seemed routine, but the level of detail required wasn't standard. Someone was looking for something specific. Marcus forwarded the request to me with a terse note. Handle this. Of course he did. I was the only one who actually understood our systems well enough to compile accurate reports quickly. I worked late for 3 nights, pulling data, organizing spreadsheets, cross-referencing approvals with receipts, everything they asked for. Nothing more, nothing less. The contradictions in the data spoke for themselves. I didn't highlight them. I didn't add commentary. I simply organized information chronologically, clearly, completely. Approval patterns emerged naturally. Discrepancies appeared in context. The timeline showed which decisions happened when, approved by whom, with what justification. I submitted the reports exactly as requested. Professional, thorough, neutral. 3 days later, I received an unexpected calendar invitation. Board review follow-up session, financial overview. Attendees included board members, compliance officers, and, surprisingly, me. Marcus wasn't listed. That evening, my phone rang at 9:30. Marcus's name appeared on the screen. I let it ring twice before answering. Cassandra, his voice was tight, controlled. I'm reviewing the reports you submitted. Did you notice anything unusual in the data? Unusual how? I asked carefully. Any irregularities? Anything that might raise questions? I paused just long enough. No, I compiled exactly what compliance requested. Is something wrong? No, he said quickly. Just want to make sure everything's accurate before the review. It's accurate, I said. I triple-checked everything. The line went quiet. Then, good, that's good. Thanks for your thoroughness. He hung up without saying goodbye. The announcement came Monday morning. Internal audit, all departments. The email was brief, formal, signed by the chief compliance officer. Standard procedure for mid-sized companies, it claimed. Routine verification of processes and controls. But the timing wasn't routine. The scope wasn't routine. Tyler stopped arriving early and leaving late. His confident stride became hesitant. In meetings, he deferred to Marcus constantly, seeking approval before making even small decisions. Marcus himself grew sharp-edged and brittle. He reviewed files obsessively, asked questions about processes he'd previously ignored, and held unusual one-on-one meetings with people from finance and procurement. HR began scheduling individual interviews with staff. Just gathering feedback about workflows and department efficiency, they claimed. But the questions felt pointed, specific. They asked about approval processes, about who made decisions, about whether procedures were followed. When they interviewed me, I answered honestly. Yes, I understood the approval processes. Yes, I'd noticed some workflows had changed recently. No, I didn't have concerns to report, just observations. I watched the auditor's pen move across her notepad and wondered what story my answers were helping her write. The desperation started subtly. Marcus appeared at my desk one afternoon, his usual authority replaced with something softer, almost pleading. I've been thinking, he said, perching on the edge of my desk in a casual way that felt performed, about your career development. There might be opportunities coming up soon, director-level positions. I'd like to put your name forward. I looked up from my computer. That's generous. You've been a solid team player through all this transition, he continued. I know it hasn't been easy. The board values loyalty. There it was, the word that explained everything. Loyalty. Not competence, not merit, not results. Loyalty. I appreciate that, I said neutrally. Of course, we'd need to present a united front during this audit situation. Some of the financial data might raise questions, but it's all explainable. Just administrative inconsistencies, nothing serious. If anyone asks, I trust you'll help clarify context. He was asking me to help him smooth things over, to use my credibility to cover his tracks, to sacrifice my integrity for a promise he'd already broken once. I met his eyes steadily. Actually, Marcus, I've already made plans. His expression froze. Plans? I've accepted another position. I'll be submitting my resignation after the board review. The board meeting began at 8 a.m. in the executive conference room, a space I'd only entered a handful of times in my 5 years at the company. Dark wood panels, leather chairs, a wall of windows overlooking the city. I arrived early, uncertain why I'd been invited. Department heads typically weren't included in these sessions. I took a seat near the back, my laptop and notes organized neatly. Marcus entered 10 minutes later. His face went rigid when he saw me. Cassandra, he said carefully, I wasn't aware you'd be joining us. The board requested my attendance, I replied calmly, to answer questions about the financial reports. He nodded slowly, his jaw tight. Tyler slipped in behind him, looking like he'd slept poorly. They took seats at the main table while I remained in the outer ring, close enough to hear everything, positioned as support staff rather than participant. The CEO called the meeting to order. Standard quarterly updates proceeded, sales figures, project timelines, market analysis. I half listened, my attention caught by the tension radiating from Marcus and Tyler. Then the CFO spoke. Before we conclude, compliance has requested we review some irregularities in departmental expenditures. Cassandra, we'd like you to stay for this discussion. Marcus's head snapped toward the CFO. He clearly hadn't expected this. The projector flickered to life. My spreadsheets appeared on the screen, clean, organized, devastating. The CFO walked through the timeline methodically. Expense reports with missing documentation, approvals that bypassed required protocols, vendor payments for services with no deliverables, conference attendance that didn't match calendar records or industry event schedules. Each discrepancy appeared in neat columns with dates, amounts, approval signatures. The pattern was undeniable. The room went completely silent. These approvals, the CFO said, highlighting several rows, were processed under credentials belonging to Marcus and Tyler. Cassandra, can you explain the standard approval process? I stood, keeping my voice steady and professional. For expenditures over $5,000, company policy requires 2 authorized signatures, typically a department head and a finance officer. For amounts over $15,000, additional board review is required. And in these cases, the CFO asked, single approvals, no secondary verification, no board review. Every pair of eyes in the room shifted toward Marcus and Tyler. The weight of attention was physical, suffocating. Tyler's face had gone pale. Marcus maintained his composure, but his hands gripped the armrest with white-knuckled force. Tyler spoke first, his voice cracking slightly. There must be some mistake in the data. These approvals went through normal channels. I followed the processes Marcus showed me. The CFO raised an eyebrow. You're saying you were instructed to bypass standard protocols? No, Tyler stumbled over his words. I was told these were pre-approved by the board for operational efficiency. Marcus said it was standard for regional management to streamline certain expenditures. Every head turned toward Marcus. Marcus's expression hardened. He leaned forward, his voice taking on the authoritative tone he used in meetings. Let's not misrepresent the situation. Tyler is still learning our systems. Some of these irregularities stem from his misunderstanding of approval workflows. I've been working to correct his approach. Tyler's face flushed red. You told me to approve these, you said. I said to use good judgment, Marcus interrupted smoothly, which requires understanding policy, something you've struggled with. The betrayal was instant. Marcus was throwing Tyler under the bus, repositioning himself as the supervisor, trying to manage an incompetent subordinate. Tyler's confusion shifted to anger as he realized what was happening. A board member spoke up, her voice cool. Who approved Tyler Bennett's promotion to regional manager? Silence filled the room like water rising. Marcus cleared his throat. The promotion was made based on Tyler's potential and cultural fit. We felt fresh perspective would benefit the department. Was this decision reviewed by HR? The board member continued. It was an operational decision within my authority as department head, Marcus replied carefully. The CFO pulled up another document on screen, my email from 3 months ago. Marcus's words appeared in front of 20 people. The regional manager role is yours, Cassandra. Start thinking about your transition plan. This email is dated 3 months before Tyler's promotion was announced, the CFO said. Cassandra was promised the position in writing. Can you explain why the decision changed? Marcus's composure cracked slightly. Personnel decisions involve multiple factors. Cassandra is a valued employee, but concerns arose about her readiness for expanded leadership responsibilities. What concerns? The CEO asked sharply. Interpersonal issues, resistance to feedback, difficulty adapting to changing priorities. The words hung in the air, vague, unprovable, the kind of language used to justify decisions that couldn't be defended with facts. I felt something settle in my chest. This was the moment. I could stay silent, let him rewrite history, or I could speak. I stood up. May I respond? The CEO nodded. I have documentation of every project I've led, I said quietly. Performance reviews rating me as exceptional for 4 consecutive years, feedback from team members and clients, and records of problems I've solved that others created. I walked to the front of the room, connected my laptop to the projector. My hands were steady now. This is Tyler's first major contract approval, I said, pulling up the file. He authorized an exclusive vendor agreement that violated our existing contract with another supplier. Legal would have caught it eventually, but we'd have faced penalty fees and potential litigation. The document appeared on screen showing Tyler's approval signature and the conflicting contract terms highlighted. I caught the error and corrected it before it became a legal issue. I documented the process and the resolution. I clicked to the next slide. This is one of 15 similar situations over the past 3 months where I've prevented problems created by inexperienced leadership. The room was absolutely silent. I don't say this to embarrass anyone, I continued, my voice calm. I say it because the question isn't about my readiness for leadership. The question is about why someone was promoted to a position they weren't prepared for, and why that promotion coincided with financial irregularities that required someone who wouldn't ask questions. Marcus shot to his feet. This is completely inappropriate. Cassandra has been difficult throughout this transition, undermining Tyler's authority, refusing to accept. Sit down, Marcus, the CEO said quietly. Marcus froze mid-sentence. The CEO turned to me. You said you've documented these corrections? Do you have records of similar issues? Yes. Please email them to compliance within the hour. I nodded and returned to my seat. My heart was pounding, but my breathing stayed even. The board asked Tyler and Marcus to step outside. The heavy door closed behind them with a soft click that somehow sounded final. The room exhaled collectively. Board members leaned back in their chairs. The CFO rubbed her temples. The CEO stared at the financial report still displayed on the screen. Then they turned to me. Cassandra, the CEO said, you've been with this company for 5 years. Your performance reviews are exemplary. Your recent work prevented significant legal and financial problems, yet you were passed over for a promotion you were explicitly promised. I nodded slowly. We need to make this right, she continued. We'd like to offer you the regional manager position immediately, with a formal apology and back pay for the months you should have held the role. Additionally, we're prepared to discuss expanded responsibilities and compensation. The offer sat between us like something delicate. 3 months ago, I would have wept with gratitude. 3 months ago, this was everything I wanted. Now, sitting in this boardroom, I felt something different. Not anger, not even satisfaction. Just clarity about what I needed next. I appreciate that, I said carefully, but I need to be honest with you. The CEO leaned forward. I've accepted another position, Regional Director of Operations at Meridian Consulting Group. I start in 6 weeks. The shock was visible. The CFO's eyebrows rose. 2 board members exchanged glances. The CEO sat back slowly. May I ask why? she said after a moment. I chose my words carefully. 3 months ago, I trusted this company's leadership completely. When Marcus promised me that promotion, I believed him. When he gave it to someone else, I tried to understand. When he gaslighted me about his written promise, I realized something fundamental had broken. I paused, making sure my voice stayed steady. It's not just about the promotion. It's about what happened after. I was sidelined, excluded, and then expected to train the person who took my opportunity. When I discovered financial irregularities, I had to decide whether to protect my own interests or the company's integrity. I chose integrity. But I also realized I couldn't stay somewhere that had chosen loyalty over competence, appearance over ethics. The room was absolutely quiet. Meridian offered me more than a better title and higher pay, I continued. They offered me what I can't find here anymore, trust. The confidence that merit matters, that promises mean something, that integrity won't be punished. The CEO nodded slowly. Her expression was pained but understanding. I can't argue with that reasoning, though I wish we'd had the chance to rebuild that trust. So do I said honestly. But some breaks can't be fixed. We'll need your help during the transition, the CFO said. Your documentation will be critical for the audit, and frankly, you understand these systems better than anyone. I'll provide everything I have, I said. Complete files, detailed notes, process documentation. I want this resolved correctly. What about the regional manager position? A board member asked. If you're leaving, who takes over? Promote internally, I suggested. Patricia in accounting has been here 8 years. She knows the systems, she has strong relationships across departments, and she's been consistently excellent. Or consider James from operations. He's been doing director-level work without the title for 2 years. I saw several heads nod in agreement. The answer isn't outside hiring or favor trading, I continued. It's recognizing the people who've been doing the work all along. The CEO made a note. We'll review both candidates. Thank you for the recommendation. The meeting concluded shortly after. Board members filed out, some stopping to shake my hand, others offering quiet words of apology or encouragement. The CFO asked me to stay behind. I'm sorry this happened to you, she said when we were alone. Marcus will be terminated. Tyler's promotion will be rescinded. The financial irregularities are serious enough to warrant legal review, but none of that fixes what you experienced. No, I agreed. But knowing it won't happen to someone else helps. The next 6 weeks moved quickly. The internal audit expanded into a full investigation. Marcus was placed on immediate leave, pending legal review. Tyler resigned quietly, his brief tenure as regional manager ending in humiliation rather than accomplishment. Patricia was promoted to regional manager with full board approval. She accepted with tears in her eyes, thanking me for the recommendation. You could have burned this whole place down, she said. Instead, you fixed it. I just told the truth, I replied. But that wasn't quite accurate. I'd done more than tell the truth. I documented it, organized it, and presented it at exactly the right moment. I'd turned my exclusion into observation time, my diminished role into investigation space. I'd transformed Marcus's betrayal into leverage, not for revenge, but for justice. My last day arrived with surprising ceremony. The team threw me a goodbye lunch. Colleagues I'd worked with for years shared stories I'd forgotten, projects I'd saved, problems I'd solved, quiet moments of leadership no one had formally recognized. You should have been regional manager, Patricia said, raising her glass. But I'm glad you're getting something better. I looked around the table at faces I'd come to care about. I'm glad too, I said honestly. Meridian Consulting Group's offices occupied 3 floors of a glass tower downtown. My first day felt surreal. Spacious office, experienced team, resources I'd only dreamed about in my previous role. My new boss, Catherine, met me in the lobby. Welcome, she said, shaking my hand firmly. We're excited to have you. Your reputation preceded you. My reputation? I asked, confused. She smiled. Angela told us about your interview, but we also heard through industry channels about what happened at your previous company. Word gets around in our field. Someone who handles a bad situation with that much integrity and intelligence, that's exactly who we want leading our teams. Over my first week, I learned that Meridian had hired 3 other people from my previous company over the past 2 years, all talented professionals who'd left for similar reasons. The pattern Marcus created hadn't been invisible to the outside world. It had become a competitive advantage for companies smart enough to recognize opportunity in another organization's dysfunction. "You're not the first person we've recruited from there," Catherine told me during our first one-on-one meeting. "Probably won't be the last. Some companies create talent, others drive it away. We try to be the beneficiaries of that second category." 3 months into my new role, I received a LinkedIn message from someone I didn't recognize, a woman named Brielle who worked at my former company. "I don't know if you remember me," she wrote. "I was junior analyst in finance. I wanted to thank you. After you left, everything changed. The board implemented new promotion processes, mandatory review committees, transparent criteria. Patricia has been amazing, and my boss just recommended me for a supervisor role. My first real advancement opportunity. I don't think any of this would have happened without what you did." I stared at the message for a long moment. I'd left that company focused on my own future, my own justice. I hadn't fully considered the ripple effects, the systems that might improve, the people who might benefit, the culture that might shift because someone had finally demanded accountability. I wrote back, "I'm so glad to hear that. You earned that opportunity. Make the most of it." That evening I thought about Marcus. I'd heard through industry contacts that he hadn't found another position. The investigation had uncovered enough financial irregularities to damage his reputation permanently, though criminal charges were avoided through settlements and repayment agreements. Tyler had left the field entirely, taking a sales job in a different industry. I didn't feel satisfaction about their failures. I felt something quieter, a sense that consequences had finally aligned with choices. My first year at Meridian exceeded every expectation. I built a team of 12 talented people, implemented new systems that improved efficiency across 3 departments, and earned recognition as a rising leader in the organization. But the real victory wasn't the title, or the salary, or the professional success. It was simpler than that. It was walking into meetings knowing my voice mattered. It was having promises kept and contributions recognized. It was working alongside people who valued competence and integrity equally. It was the absence of looking over my shoulder, second-guessing my worth, or wondering when the betrayal would come. One afternoon, Catherine stopped by my office. "The board asked me to tell you they're impressed with your first-year results," she said. "They'd like to discuss expanding your role, potentially senior director by next quarter." "I'd be honored," I said. She smiled. "You've earned it, the real kind of earning, not the political kind." After she left, I turned to my window overlooking the city. Somewhere out there in another office building, my old company continued without me. Patricia was thriving. New systems were working. Problems I'd exposed were being solved. And I was here, building something new. They took my promotion. They thought they were punishing me, sidelining me, teaching me to accept my place. Instead, they gave me clarity. They showed me what I'd been tolerating, what I deserved better than, what I was capable of beyond their limited vision. Marcus gave his friend my promotion. He didn't expect the board's reaction, but more than that, he didn't expect mine. He thought I'd break or bend or quietly disappear. Instead, I documented the truth, waited for the right moment, and walked away with something he could never take from me: my integrity, my competence, and my future. In the end, that was the greatest victory of all.